Hi everybody, I'm Staged, and this is the Stormgate closed beta. Have a replay here that was submitted from the Discord by a player named Chaum. This is somewhere in the range of 1570 MMR, and we're gonna see how this goes. This will be Vanguard versus Vanguard. We've already got the dogs crossing the map. Let's see how they play this. Going to run past each other. No one going to be trying to battle it out with the dogs immediately, so scouting, and we're gonna just see what they open up with. I know this is from a couple days ago before we had a lot of the replays from the tournament, but really the high MMR players showed us how to really play Vanguard. I'm curious if we end up getting any kind of fancy tech. So already we have Blue using the overcharge and going with 2 workers to build, getting the barracks out a little bit faster. Dog here doing a little bit of harass, also using overcharge to build, going to get the supply building up. Not quite rallying back immediately. In fact, we had a little bit of idle time, but fighting off the dog here. Not building any units yet. I'm wondering if we're going to get a Lancer or a dog opening here for Chaum. But Chaum also leaving his dog here to face off against this Lancer who comes out. Sees the Lancer come up. Gonna have to see if he can do anything with it. Is the barracks producing? No. So are we going to be seeing this go for a quick Hornet play, I wonder? I can't see what building this is that he's building. But he also has the dog here. He sees the Lancer. Lancer can cross the map soon. Will we manage to get out to get one of those health pods? Both dogs relatively low on health. Obviously, you know, in the beta, you can't see their health totals, but we can see approximately where it is. Yeah, he's going to heal up. He's taken the flower that's in this area. And it looks like the blue Vanguard is going to just go ahead and start creeping. This, I believe, is the biokinetics bay for our Vanguard player for Chaum up here. I don't play Vanguard myself. I'm really hoping to learn it. But we're going to be going with a straight dog build. We've got 3 dogs out already. It took a little bit of time to produce them, but that might have just been a replay bug not showing the production. But, so yeah, he's going to be going for that dog upgrade right away. That was recently nerfed. This is on the patch where it's post-nerf. Requires, I think it's 100-100 instead of 50-50. But continuing to pump out dogs, he's going to be going all-in aggression on that. However, dogs are pretty well handled by a couple of Lancers, as long as you can keep them alive and healthy. Starting the expo here, taking the expansion away from the Therium is the blue player. I find that really interesting. I always like to expand towards the Therium if possible, but instead, trying to protect it a little bit more, taking it further away from the ramp. The overcharge is set up. They have the expansion down, trying to fight off the dogs. There's a lot of dogs here for Chaum. Chaum crossing the map. He's even pulling a bunch of bobs over here. He's going to be setting up his expansion behind the dog pressure. He's chilling on the ramp here. Scouting out, going to try and push down. Is this a turret, I wonder? A sentry post? Pulling the dogs back. Yes, that is a sentry post. That's going to be a buzzsaw. That is the end of the dog harass here for Chaum. You cannot send dogs into the buzzsaw, but I would like to see him try to do a run-by instead. Go after the base, but alright, we're going to just go ahead and start taking creeps. Using the vision, going to get a minor economic advantage. I want to know where he wants to take this tech, because right now he's on 2 bases, just pushing out bobs like crazy. Has the biokinetics bay. Meanwhile, we're massing up barracks here. I think we're going to be seeing some mass exo out of blue. Has his own biokinetics bay. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get the exo upgrade to get the quick draw hustle. We might also see Mass Lancer. Mass Lancer has been seeing a lot of favor, but I don't know how it plays in the mirror. I only know that Mass Lancer is very, very effective against Infernal. We don't have to worry about that this game. Continuing to creep out onto the map. Blue playing very, very defensive here, just continuing to set up these barracks, but hasn't been producing out of them yet. Has full saturation on 1 base with a little bit of Therium mining. The second Luminite mine is being expanded on, but not nearly the same saturation that Chaum has. Chaum at 11 on 2 mines. The 11th and 12th miners do have the best Therium efficiencies, unless you're doing some manipulation tricks. But going to be coming in here and trying to harass on this Luminite mine, that's a lot of damage from the dogs, and there is no response from Blue. walking into the buzzsaw turret, going to take some moderate damage, but does not lose a dog. Could set up a turret back home with the bombs to repair them if he wanted to. There's not going to be too much healing left on the map. Those flowers do respawn, but you can't get a whole lot with them. You could take a healing camp as well, but, well, both those are occupied, and the dogs are not the best at taking the healing camp when they're that low. But he's got so many of them, they might have a chance. Blue is building that Exo Force. From the replay, we can see some of these producing. It's a little bit subtle. Chaum's still on 2 barracks. I feel like he's floating a lot of money right now. Going out for the 3rd on the Luminite as well, beginning to saturate that, but I mean, he hasn't really been teching up. He hasn't been making too much Therium, and we don't see a lot of units out here for Chaum. I really want to see him start just macroing like crazy. He's losing a couple of dogs. He's got a couple of Lancers back here, but this push might be in trouble if he doesn't really start producing. Powering out, I think that's going to be a sentry post, a turret. But using all of these Lancers now, he does have the Lancer upgrade that's going to give them the extra move speed. Have to get on top of these Exos, instead just pounding away at the enemy Lancers. Quick draw hustle here for these Exos, giving them a little bit of room to run, but the Lancers are faster. Going to run this down. Nice control. It's nothing fancy, nothing too crazy, but he is going to be able to run down those Exos. Blue not stutter stepping, not using the quick draw hustle to get away. Because you gotta be really scared when you do have the Lancer upgrade. I forget what it's called. But with that Lancer upgrade, you know, when you shoot, they're gonna get faster as well, so it's a bit of a balancing act. But we are just seeing a mass Lancer build and not choosing to go up the hill. Instead, taking some more camps, being very, very conservative is Chaum. Is he macroing behind it, though? We're still on 2 barracks. He's got 3 expansions, and he's working on maxing the Luminite on all of them. But I really want to see a bigger production basis, because the bases don't mean anything if you don't have the buildings behind them working. Meanwhile, still sticking here on 3 bases. I'd like to see Blue trying to use the upgrade on the supply buildings to eke out a little bit more production, possibly. And we take the Lancers here and the single Exo, taking the health camp. That's going to make a really good staging ground for this push, and that's right into an expansion as well. I don't know if he can see it. A lot of Exos here for Blue, moving back out onto the map. You really can't use these few Lancers to move into that big of a ball of Exos. So instead, just going to back out. Needs to regroup, but he needs his macro down, and here we go. This is some macro. 2 turrets. He's got himself 3 additional barracks, so we're on 5 racks production, 3 bases. He's got a couple of turrets here to defend these. He can really make a lot of Exos if he wants to. We can also get some of those med techs if we're going to stick on low tech build. And here we go. We do have a couple of med techs. Not really pounding out the Exos, though. Instead, just really sticking with the Lancer tech for the most part. Part of that, I mean, he's got 11 workers on Therium. He's got so much Therium that he can play with. I really want to see him start spending it, because right now, can't see the resources, obviously, but I really feel like our red player has just so many resources floating. Oh, these Exos are tearing apart red right now. Chaum in a bit of trouble. Gonna be backing off. Needs to make sure he protects the med techs. You can't lose those. That's a big deal. I don't know if you're a real person. If you are, I apologize out there in chat. Anyways, these Exos circling around. Got a small contingent of Exos in with the Lancers here as well, immediately losing that turret. Stutter stepping inwards. Needs to make sure that he starts taking these down. The veterancy on the blue Exos is becoming a factor. Leveling up as they just shred the enemy Exos with some target fire. There is not enough army here for Chaum. Even with the 5 barracks production, it takes time to get this moving. He wasn't producing for so long. Like, I feel like at this point, you really need something like 8 barracks just to make up for the deficit. even if 5 barracks is approximately enough for the number of buildings you're on before the number of bases, you need to spend that money, you need to spend it fast. Lancers going in, but they're on top of the health camp. The overcharged Bobs here as well, putting down a lot of damage, but this is going to be really, really close. These Exos do so much damage depending on the target fire. Meanwhile, the question is Blue macroing behind this? Does he have any more forces available? Blue continuing to just absolutely massacre the Exos and Lancers. There's a couple remaining, though, and Blue is finally going to lose this contingency. It takes a lot of losses, though, for Chaum in the red. These Exos finally die. What's Blue got behind it? More Exos, just going all Exos, still remaining on 4 barracks, but it is backed by some of that solar power. Going to be setting up another base here right on top of the Therium, because Blue's been kind of staying low on Therium economy. Only 5 workers on Therium, but when you have just Exos, you really don't need that much. But I feel like he's going to also need some more barracks. Let's see if Chaum's going to continue. He's expanding out here, taking his 4th. Is he also continuing to expand his production capabilities? We've got 5 barracks. Is this another barracks here that he's building? Also not taking the triangle base over here. Hasn't cleared the trees. Back out onto the map. Resource camp's not spawning yet. But this is not a very big army. It's only because of where we are in the MMR that you can get away with having this little this late in the game. But already just take a look at how heavily Blue is macroing. Just the production boost from having these enhancing the barracks. 4 barracks turns into something closer to 6 barracks here. So they're really on par as far as production goes. This is a nice angle of attack here for Red. Moving right in, quick draw hustle, pulling the Exos away, but he's pretty afraid here. Would have liked to see him commit maybe a little bit more, but I think he felt outnumbered. So instead, the quick draw hustle is just going to continue pulling apart and taking out all of the people tailing here. So these Exos are going to start dropping. Now this comes down to a little bit of a micro battle. You still need to keep that macro moving. There's just not enough production here on Red, but here we go. Flat cannons are going to add to the defense. They don't do that much damage. I think it's only 12. I can't really tell in the replay. Resource camps respawning, but at this point, I mean, you got so many bases, those are not going to be a huge deal. This just really comes down to who's producing and how much production you're using. Teching up here now, mass production coming out of Blue. Are we going to see more here coming out of Red? Up here as well, absolutely. Getting some mech play online possibly. Both of them going through this build and macro cycle. But the question is, who's going to be able to spend enough? These Vulcans coming up. Or Chaum for the Red player. Vulcans matching here as well. Neither of them going Atlas yet. They don't necessarily have the tech available for it either. Big Lancer population for Red. Going to try and sneak around, checking to see if there's a base over here, not finding it. Trees have not been cut through yet. If he had the jump jet upgrade, those Vulcans could cut through the trees. Instead, circling back around now, possibly going to find this army. Armies are of roughly equal size, but there's so many Exos here for Blue. The macro failures for Chaum, for our Red player, are really starting to show here. Up close and personal, these Vulcans starting to rip and tear. First Vulcan goes down, though. Using the shield on one of the Vulcans is Red, but not able to put enough damage out. All the Vulcans are down except for the one that just came in reinforcing. But this Vulcan on the high ground is also doing a great job for Blue. Backing off a little bit. This Lancer's starting to keep their bulk moving. Vulcan down for Blue. Whittling away, it's indeterminate, but I think this is going to work out in favor of the Red player as long as he can continue focus firing and bringing down these Exos. Reinforced distance is low, we're pulling Bobs in. Overcharged Bobs do a lot of damage. Pushing forward. Spawn in trouble now. Seeing that there's so many Exos, but going ahead and charging forward the Lancers anyways. This is just back and forth, but he has so much veterancy on his Exos, there's going to be a lot of damage. Continuing to chip away. This is still a macro battle. You got to make sure you're producing behind it. You got to make sure you have the production. These Vulcans here, shredding the bobs for blue. Turret, you focus down. There it goes. I think this is finally going to start to give. There's not many units here for red, but blue is basically out. He's just on whatever reinforcements he can get in his base. And there's so many Vulcans up here now, they can just shred those Exos. And that is going to be it. Fly leaves the game. Chaum takes it. My big thing here, so obviously, you know, we don't have the replay capabilities to really see the resources, but I feel like the production for our red player, for Chaum here, should have been a little bit higher in the mid-game. I feel like you were floating a lot of resources, but I can't be sure. Overall, though, I think this was a pretty solid game, and I think you earned the win, but it could have been a little more decisive. So, that's going to be all we have for this one. We'll be back with the next time, and I'll figure out some kind of name for this series. Thank you.